I see it as there's this thing. I now looking back, I see it as starting with the O.J. Simpson trial that I was kind of obsessed with, and it struck me how someone could do murders and then go on living with themselves. So that idea led to my first visits with Barry Gifford, and we were talking and kind of talking about things, and it just something clicked, and we started working on this, and in working on it found out there is a medical name for this thing, psychogenic fugue, where the mind tricks itself, and you can either take on another identity or you do what you have to do to hide those things from yourself.
They say he doesn't explain his movies.
He talks a lot.
No, not anymore. That's why we're doing David Lynch month.
And that's where we are.
Pete, Dick Laurent is dead.
You said Dick.
And it's time to cover Lost Highway.
Why? Time out. Why do people willingly choose Dick as a nickname? Like their parents to go, hey, you're a Dick now. They're like, hello, Richard. And someone's like, no, man, call me Dick. Why? Why is that? There's nobody walking around saying I don't know, call me Testicle.
You don't know that.
They don't, and I think I should now. Call me Testy. You know what? I'm feeling testy today. My own. You can stare at me, but you know that was funny.
You've come in way too hot today. Because you look good.
Well, it's snowing outside. I got to warm up something. We got to keep warm, Brian. The end times are upon us. It's snowing in, what month is this? April. And we live in the northern hemisphere.
It's not that uncommon. It's just that it was so warm for the last couple of weeks that it feels uncommon.
I think it was warm for a day, honestly.
There's a whole thing. April sometimes comes in like a lion.
Am I a lion?
And it leaves...
I don't know.
Like a lion. I'm in Buffalo.
Wait, no, there's April flowers and May golden showers. I don't know. I don't know these things.
Get away from my search history. Is this your first time watching Lost Highway?
As with all of these David Lynch things this month, this is my first time watching any of it, aside from possibly, what was that one I saw? Dune, and I may have seen one other one.
You've said before that you think you watched Fire Walk with Me before you understood any of it.
I think I did. I'm fairly confident, but it didn't make a lick of sense. I'm not sure it makes any more sense now that I've actually sat and watched all of it. Intriguing.
Even with me talking through the whole thing?
Yes, even with. Actually, that probably helped. But no, this was my first time watching Lost Highway. So what have I seen now? I have seen Eraserhead.
Yes.
I have seen maybe Dune. I have seen Fire Walks with Me.
Yeah.
And what was the one where Kyle MacLachlan was a pretend detective?
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. I saw that one too.
And 30 Seconds of Mulholland Drive.
And 30 Seconds of Mulholland Drive.
Which will fill out for you next week when we complete David Lynch.
I don't know, man. That's a pretty high bar to try to... I feel like it's just going to be a disappointment for the rest of the movie because...
It is. It will be.
A pretty solid 30 seconds for 19-year-old Pete or whatever age I was when that happened.
It would have been 22.
For 22-year-old Pete, that was a pretty exciting 30 seconds.
Too old for this to be a recurring bit, to be honest. This is an interesting one because we're going to leave our good friend Jack Nance. This is the final appearance of Jack Nance in a film.
Who was he in this movie? Jack Nance was Eraserhead, right?
Yes. He was Eraserhead, and then he was one of the gangsters in Blue Velvet.
Yep.
And then his scenes were cut from Fire Walk with Me.
Boo!
But he was there. And then he is one of the mechanics.
Oh, I was looking for him because I knew he was in this because he told me, and I couldn't find him. He's a tricky one, that Jack Nance.
He ages in these movies like he drank from the wrong grail.
That happened to me once.
And he would pass away before this movie came out. but he was with us on our entire Lynch journey to this point.
Well, can we just stop now? I feel like it's wrong to go forward without him.
And miss those 30 seconds?
I've seen him. I'm good.
I've seen everything.
I've seen everything. I've seen the big board.
It's also the last film for Robert Blake.
Who's Robert Blake?
Robert Blake was an actor from Our Gang all the way through this film.
I don't know what Our Gang is. Is that a Little Rascals?
Yes.
With the alfalfa, with that little hair. He's got this something about Mary hair.
He was around he was around forever. And then a year after this was accused of murdering his wife.
Holy shit.
He was acquitted, but he never worked again. And he goes out on a high in this movie, I gotta say.
Who was he in this?
He's the mysterious man.
Oh, that guy?
With maybe one of the greatest scenes in movie history.
So that guy kills his wife a year later?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Which is the plot of this movie.
I was about to say, did he go too far into this movie? Was this about him?
Maybe. He's great in this movie, though.
Was he? He was only in it for a little bit.
He lived for another 20 years. He just never worked again.
Did he go to serve punishment for his crime?
No.
What?
I think he OJ'd it. He was found not guilty, and then he was found liable and lost a bunch of money. But,
ooh. Well, he was kind of like a devilly thing, sort of.
this is also the last film for Richard Pryor, the most random person to be in this movie.
There were a lot of random people that popped up in this movie, and I see Richard Pryor there, and I'm like, oh, he's going to have more stuff to do, right? It's Richard Pryor. He really didn't.
No. Well, he was in poor health. You could tell even from the scene he was in.
But he showed up. It was so weird. It's cool to see him because Richard Pryor's great.
Hey, I've seen this movie before, and I still didn't expect it. I was like, wow, Richard Pryor owns this gas station? Or this mechanic station?
There were a couple other people who popped up, too. Well, I'm like, I know you.
Well, they all lived past this movie, though, so that's why they're not getting talked about.
Good. Good. I'm glad to see it. We're done with Jack Nance and whoever that guy was.
Robert Blake.
Robert Blake.
Possible murderer?
I feel like I've heard that name before.
He was in Cold Blood, which is a very famous movie.
Is that the Truman Capote one?
It's the one. It was the book he wrote. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then I know of it. I know of it. I don't know about it, but I know of it.
Obviously, an interesting guy.
Obviously.
Jack Nance was an interesting guy. Richard Pryor was an interesting guy. We lost 3 interesting guys.
Mm-hmm. But you know who's kicking? Still?
I mean, it could be so many people.
Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman is still alive.
Bill
Yes.
Pullman being cool, riding that lost highway.
He outlasted
Bill Paxton. His
by
twin.
quite a bit.
His name twin.
No, Bill Pullman, the actor, or Bill Pullman, the character in this movie?
He's all the same.
Well, I don't think he survives this movie.
Oh, he does.
I'm pretty sure that the end of this movie
What the
is.
fuck are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure the last shot of this movie is him dying in the electric chair.
There's no
as he's
electric
driving away.
Seriously? That's what you...
Yeah.
All right. Here's
Where do you
what
want to start? Because it's a loop.
All right, so I'm gonna spread this movie out for you in a nutshell. What we've got a cool rock and roll saxophone player.
Yes.
And he's the coolest saxophone player. Like he saxes so hard that he summons some sort of weird dream entity.
No, I do this all the time for Reagan stuff.
Reagan?
So I have to ask, in 1997, is this a Bill Clinton commentary on the saxophone player?
Oh, interesting. No, I just thought he was you saw him. He was wailing.
It's a random ass thing to be a saxophone player, and that is the current president in 1997 is Bubba and the saxophone.
You see, I don't even think it matters because I'm watching it well past 1997, so the context was lost. But
I have my notes here. You can read the third one for me.
Fred wailing on that saxophone.
Fred is wailing on that saxophone. He is going for it. Is the loudest thing I've ever heard in a movie.
He doesn't stop, and people love it. People are going fucking nuts for it. He's crazy. But anyway, the movie starts right where
They have to be doing it ironically, right?
no. I think he's just cool. He's
guess.
cool. It's showing how cool Bill Pullman is.
But
Like
it
that's
doesn't
the important part.
fundamentally make sense with the character, though.
What are you talking about?
His impotence is like part of
Okay,
it.
okay. Let me do this real quick. Okay, so the movie starts. Bill Pullman's there smoking a cigarette, all cool, and the phone rings or the doorbell rings, and the little voice thing's like says, "Dick Laurent is dead."
Pretty sure it's an intercom.
Whatever. He's like, I don't know what that means, and there's nobody outside. He's like, what? And like in the distance, you hear sirens and shit. But then he talks to his, I assume, wife.
Yep.
Whatever she is.
Renee.
He's like, you want to come with me to the club tonight? And she's like, no, I'm sleeping. I'm gonna stay home. He's like, all right. And that's when he goes and he plays his sweet saxophone, and you're introduced to how cool he is. Then he gets home, and I think this is where I think he has the dream where he summons the mystery guy, who I believe is some sort of entity from beyond, because Lynch likes doing these entities.
You're missing a big piece.
What did I miss?
He has sex with Renee and is unable to please her. And that's when he sees the mystery man's face on Renee's body.
Okay,
next to him in bed.
All right, hang on. Okay, gee, see, I'm trying to do it quick. Anyway, long story short, he thinks that she might be cheating on him. He's got his weird suspicions. Videotapes are appearing like of their outside house. She seems all nervous about it. So you're like, all right, there's something weird with her, but it's just their house. Then a bunch of stuff happens. The cops show up. He blacks out. Oh, he sees this mystery man in like a dream. He goes to a party and there's some weird stuff, and he talks to that mystery guy who we don't know. And the guy's like, I know you. You invited me and I'm at your house right now. And Bill Pullman's like, what? And he calls his house and the mystery man picks up. And the mystery guy, I don't remember his point, but he intimates that he and Bill Pullman have some sort of dealings, and Bill Pullman invited him with his dream his saxophone playing. He brought him in.
Okay.
But that's what, I swear to God, that's what summoned him. Part of it was he's worried about his wife cheating, and also that sweet, sweet saxophone. It summons those outer entities. It like draws them near. Like, was it the mad flutes, the piping of the flutes for whichever Cthulhu god is at the middle of the universe?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. You read Lovecraft. Fuck him. But anyway, where are we? All right. So then he goes home and he wanders through his hallways for a while because he's like lost in the darkness. And anyway, at some point,
this movie's called Lost Hallways.
Yeah, at some point he goes into like a fugue state, and he wakes up and his wife is all destroyed and dead. And he's like, dun dun. Then he goes to jail. Then he's in jail. Then I don't really know why, but he starts to get sick, and then he transforms and he's somebody else.
And he rolls out.
Yes, he transforms. And now the question is he an Autobot or a Decepticon? We don't know yet, but he's a new guy, like a young guy. And then
With the dumbest name.
What? Oh, the cool. It's Bill Pullman because his name is Pete. He's continuing that sweet saxophone coolness. Did you know I wanted to play the saxophone as a kid?
No.
I started off with the trumpet because we had to do music, and I figured the trumpet has 3 of those little buttons that you push. And I'm like, that's pretty simple, right? I can handle that. Turns out it's really hard to blow into a trumpet and push 3 buttons at 3 different times. So I didn't want to do that. So then when we went to middle school, it was like, well, you can pick a new instrument. I'm like, I want the saxophone. And my mom said, you can't play the trumpet and you can't do anything right. So don't play the saxophone. That costs money. I was like,
are you still recapping Lost Highway?
Yeah. See, I'm just showing how cool it is to play the saxophone and be a rock star. But anyway, he's this kid now and he works in a garage, and turns out that the wife who's dead is there, but she's got a different name, and she's dating a
Mr. Eddie.
Mr. Eddie, who's a bad guy.
Robert Loggia.
All right, I've gone too far.
Yeah,
so,
because I don't.
Here we go. Here's the story. Bill Pullman's a sweet saxophone player.
Oh, no.
He thinks his wife is cheating on him. He summons some sort of outsider through the dreams and his sweet saxophone with his sweet music. He doesn't know if his wife is cheating on him. He's not really sure. He's like, something's up. So he transforms body. I'm not sure. Here's where I'm a little confused. I don't know how she dies, but he transforms bodies. He turns into this young person, and he starts kind of investigating, like, what's his wife up to? Because he's gone back into the past.
Well, she's playing a different character now.
But she's
Alice.
not. No, she's faking it.
She's not.
She's lying about her name. She's lying because there's only one person. So anyway, he figures out that she is, in fact, cheating on him, turns back into Bill Pullman, kills the person that she's cheating on him with. So he kills Dick Laurent. Then he speeds away. And
Dick Laurent was Mr. Eddie.
Yeah, Mr. Eddie. Then he goes back to his house. Now he's Bill Pullman, and he uses that intercom to call Bill Pullman. And then Bill Pullman's like, hello? And he's like, Dick Laurent is dead. And then the Bill Pullman who's killed Dick Laurent and whatever her name was, Alice Renee, he then gets into his car and speeds away onto the Lost Highway, and you see his face start changing again because he's about to go lose all the cops are chasing him, but he's about to shift his face again, and they're not going to be able to catch him.
That's not at all what happens.
That is 100% what happens.
No, it's not.
And I can kind of follow this because almost immediately after...
But I'm going to tell you something. You didn't.
No. I immediately after, I watched Spaceballs, and there was Bill Pullman again, but now he's in a flying Winnebago, and he's off. So that's where he went on the Lost Highway. He went to space.
David Lynch explained to you in the clip, which he never does. He explained to you in the clip what happened here.
I wasn't really listening, but it seemed like he was talking about O.J. Simpson. And
that was the impetus for this.
Aside from Richard Pryor, I don't remember seeing any other black people in this movie.
Past the Minority Report.
Yeah, it did, but I mean, Richard Pryor, he's cool.
He thought of the O.J. trial and how O.J. is presenting himself as innocent when he's clearly guilty, and how a person could live with themselves. And then they looked into it, and there's a diagnosis where people with fugue states can carry on whole things where this never happened to me as a different person. And that's what this movie's about. This movie's about an impotent man who is jealous of his wife and hates her in some way because he can't please her. And the mystery man is his own anger and jealousy and emotions. And hold on. When he turns back into Bill Pullman, it happens after he has sex with her on the beach and she emasculates him and says, "You'll never have me." And that's when he turns back into Bill Pullman because he's been pulled out of his fantasy state and realizes what's true. Because he turns into Pete, a guy who is much cooler than Bill Pullman is. Bill Pullman's a fake cool.
What are you talking about? All right, first off.
But this guy can get all the ladies. He can please everybody. He's young and virile. He's good at things other than saxophone.
Yeah, you know what? Pete doesn't even like the saxophone for some reason. Because the saxophone music plays on the radio.
Because he's not insane.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think I haven't figured that part out yet either. But I guess he doesn't. Oh, I know what it was. I just figured it out. Pete doesn't want to be distracted by the sweet saxophone because he knows he's on a mission to figure out what the deal is with his wife and why she's so cheating on him all the time. So he can't be distracted by the music. He's like, turn that stuff off. It gives me a headache. Also, maybe the music would draw him back and force him to shift back into Bill Pullman before he's ready.
He's not changing at the end of that movie either. He's dying in an electric chair.
He's changing again to evade the cops. It's very clear that he has entered some sort of bargain with this mystery man who, again, he summoned with his music, which is one of those things they tell you, don't play that sax, don't wail so hard.
The mystery man also explains part of this plot to you when he says that a man can be sentenced to death and sent to a place they can't escape, never knowing when a man will show up behind them and kill them. That's what happens at the end of this movie.
No, that's why Bill Pullman changes his face.
It's not what happens at the end of this movie.
He's
not changing his face.
The last time his face shook like that, he turned into a new person. He's doing it again.
He's not changing his face. First of all, that's not true. He had a headache, and then you don't see anything. And the next day, the person looks in there, and it's
Balthazar. You see his face changing.
No, you don't.
That's his name, Balthazar?
Yeah, it's not. Cool and then even on the beach, you don't see it changing. He stands up, and he's suddenly Bill Pullman. You've made that up.
Nope, it happened.
You've made that up completely.
There is no way I made that up because it makes sense.
Okay, there is one scene where you see that happen.
Then how does he go back in time?
It's not a time travel movie. It's not happening.
Then who tells him that Dick Laurent is dead? That happened.
Happening.
How does his music get to play on? Yes, all of it happened because Dick Laurent is dead.
Yes, this is him in a jail cell. The whole movie.
No, they let him out because he turned into Pete.
Waiting to be. Yes, this is very much an incident at Owl Creek, where the rope snaps and he gets home, and then at the end he gets caught, and then he realizes he died. That's what happens in this movie. None of this is happening, Pete.
See,
Pete doesn't exist. This whole thing doesn't happen.
You had me with the incident at Owl Creek.
Occurrence at Owl Creek.
Yeah, the occurrence at Owl Creek. But if you bring in supernatural forces.
Yes, well, there's always supernatural forces in David Lynch things.
Right, which is what this is. So it's not. It's like, oh, he's not really just sitting in a jail. He's free. He's riding that lost highway. It is some way between.
I'm sure that's its own metaphor, but he's clearly dying in an electric chair in the car at the end of that movie.
100% no.
He's literally on fire.
That's just the car on the lost highway going fast. Probably because he's about to turn on some saxophone music on the radio.
Well, I want to talk before we argue about this nonsense.
It's not.
I can only do one more week of David Lynch with you, or else I'm going to kill you.
I really you know what the worst part is here, Brian? I thought this was the most straightforward and normal of his stories that I've seen so far. This one made the most sense to me
because you weren't looking for anything.
It was very simple. It was a very simple story, very straightforward. Once you accept the concept of entities, which David Lynch, look at all the people in the Fire Walk with Me, that whole room full of these outsider things. I like this concept, this kind of through line in all of Lynch's work. But
you're the most incapable person I've ever met of understanding or seeing metaphors and things.
I don't know if that's an insult or not.
You watch everything as if it's presented front to back as one simple story, no matter what you're watching.
But that's how it is.
It's not how it is. This one specifically is telling you it's not that.
This is 100% the most simple of his stories.
This is more simple than a straight story where a man rides a tractor across the country because he wants to see his dying brother.
I've never seen it. Is one of them, is he take the lost highway to get there?
He might.
Yeah,
it's rated G, so I think he's not exactly on the same road. But let me talk before we get back into this, because I don't even know where to start with you. Because you've broken down a plot to a movie I didn't watch. This movie has one of my favorite scenes in movie history in it, with Robert Loggia and his road rage.
Oh, the tailgate?
It's incredible. He's giving the greatest performance of all time. The most relatable performance. It's everything you've ever wanted to scream at somebody. But he's also a cold-blooded murderer who does not murder this person. He just makes him promise that he's going to read a driving safety guide.
Right. So the guy was tailgating him,
Yes.
and he forces him off the road and then gives him a beat down. And then says, no, make sure you read the rules.
He gives him the greatest yelling at ever because it's so grounded in reality, and it's such a thing about the safety of the road. Like, you keep expecting it to veer into like Sopranos territory where it's less like, and then fuck you, but it's like, no, he just really wants him to understand safety guidelines on the thruway. It's an incredible scene. I guess it's actually based on a heated conversation Robert Loggia had with David Lynch because he very badly wanted to be Frank Booth in Blue Velvet. And clearly he wasn't Frank Booth in Blue Velvet.
Oh, Dennis Hopper?
Yes.
Okay.
So he was very mad. So I guess he must have called David Lynch and yelled at him in a certain way where it's like he's probably not saying the worst things you could imagine because that's not what happens here either. But he's just laying out bullet points. But he's so angry.
Right.
So I
The
read
tone
that
of
he
voice.
wrote him that scene because he wanted him to be like, hey, remember how you talked to me? Go yell at him about road safety.
I like the way Lynch works. He seems to just take whatever anyone wants to bring and go, all right. He's not welded to any particular story, which works because when you've got something that's pretty basic, you can kind of add to it, and otherwise it's a short movie.
It's my favorite scene maybe ever.
It's good. It's a very solid scene.
He's so good in it, and then everybody else that's with him in the car, his little gangster buddies, and Pete, they're all just kind of like, the gangster buddies are all like, here we go again. And then Pete's just sitting there like, what the fuck is happening with this? Why is this a part of my delusion?
It's not a delusion.
It's a complete delusion.
Again, I can see now that you've said it how it can be interpreted that way.
Oh, can you?
I can, but what a stretch.
What?
What a stretch to get there. You got to imagine there's an electric chair. You have to imagine that he was
just
just
been sentenced to death in an electric chair, so I don't actually have to. When
do they say that?
they say that as he's walking down the steps and he's being put in jail for the first time, he's been sentenced to death in an electric chair. Which is why when the electric chair sound starts and he starts frying at the end, I'm able to interpret that that's him in the electric chair.
That is not because he got out, you fool. He
Did
left
not
as
get
a
out. He did not leave as a different person. What you're saying is impossible. I'll tell you how impossible it is. Who plays Pete's father? The calm,
Gary Busey.
The calm, nice, sophisticated Gary Busey. It is the weirdest casting choice because Gary Busey is an animal. And he's the kindest person in this movie.
That's how Gary Busey. Did you know that I read his book that he wrote?
Was it written in shit?
No.
On a wall?
No, it's pretty fantastic though. That man likes acronyms. Do you know what fear means, Brian?
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard him say this before.
False evidence appearing real. Do you know what a team is? Together, everyone achieves more. These are things that Gary Busey has taught me. He is a father.
Well, I've never seen him in anything like I saw him in this.
What about
Because he was...
Point Break?
No, he's dialed down to zero in this. I've never seen anything like it.
What about Gross Point Blank?
That's a great movie.
No, Gross Point Break. Yeah.
That's the crossover.
Yeah, that's the sequel we've all been waiting for.
Where an aging surfer wants to get out of the thieving business and goes back to his high school reunion.
But he goes back to his high school. You got it.
That's a good.
I don't know how it hasn't been written yet.
That movie also has one of my favorite scenes of all time when I don't remember his name.
Dan Aykroyd.
No,
John Cusack.
What's John Cusack's character's name? Martin something.
I think you're right.
And he goes back to where his house used to be, and it's now a gas station. And he's like, "How long you been here?"
He just starts grilling this.
And the guy's
kid.
like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "What's done is done. What's done is done." It's my favorite. What's done is done.
Oh, that's good stuff.
I love that movie. So we're talking about two different movies here, so I don't know where you want to go.
I really.
Let's talk about the party scene with the mystery man.
All right, this is near the beginning where Bill Pullman is still he is still Bill Pullman, and he's still trying to figure stuff out.
Well, he's not. I don't think he's. Yeah, because they're getting the tapes.
Yeah,
Of them being watched while they're sleeping and stuff.
Yep.
But he's just seen this man in his bed when he fails to please his wife. And he walks over with his no eyebrows and his pale face and his slicked back hair. He's a creepy looking dude anyway.
Right, because he's an outsider.
He's got this great
sort.
voice that I can't do.
Barely knows how to speak human.
Yeah, he barely knows how to speak human.
Right.
And he's definitely a lodge monster. Lodge monster. But he looks at him and he's like, we've met before. And he's like, where do you think we've met? And I'm like, bitch, you just saw this guy in bed. And he basically tells him, bitch, you just saw me in bed. And I think that's telling you what he represents, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and a thing that enters through your dreams.
Yeah, right. And he makes him call his house because he said, I'm at your house right now. And it's like, he's like, that's fucking crazy, man. Bill Pullman, I don't always like him in movies. I thought he was excellent in this movie.
You don't like him in movies?
There's sometimes where I just think that he's not good enough as a serious actor to pull off dramas. So I think he needs to be in stuff that's more like, yeah, he can give the speech in Independence Day because Independence Day is an elevated action sci-fi movie and it's fun. And he gives a fun speech.
That's where I was going to go.
That's the right level of dramatic. And in this movie, it's a fucked up weird movie. So he's the right level of dramatic. I don't think he can pull off being like the leading man in a drama.
What about Spaceballs?
But also, I hate drama.
When has he ever tried?
No, you see him in things and it's like, eh.
As near as I can tell, Bill Pullman has made... He made Spaceballs. He made Independence Day. Was he at the beginning of one of those Grudge movies, or was that Cary Elwes? Yeah, he was at the beginning of one of those Grudge movies, and then apparently he did Lost Highway. I don't know what else he's done.
Yeah, I think he was David Lynch's neighbor.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Hey, at the beginning of the movie, before the party, he's like, whose dog is that? And then I didn't figure that part out. That's the part that bothers me.
That's the part about him?
Yeah.
Well, he says, I'm at your house right now. He goes, it's fucking crazy, man. And then he's like, call me. And then he talks to him as he's standing in front of him on a phone at his own house. And I'm like, this scene is fucking great. It's the weirdest fucking thing. And it has to be one of those scenes that shows you kind of how Lynch puts these movies together. Because that idea had to be one of the early ones.
Why do you say that?
Because it's too perfect. It's not something you come up with, I think, where it's like, oh, well, then how do we introduce this guy? I have this idea for this guy. I had a nightmare where this happened. It's so specifically a nightmare moment where he had to have dreamt this up first. He had to.
I can buy that because it is. It's a surreal kind of...
It could have been a short film that would have been like the greatest short film I've ever seen.
Because you could have played with it. Yeah.
It's like that, what's that shortest horror story ever? The Last Man on Earth, Here's a Knock at the Door.
Oh, I don't
It's like that. It's like, this could have been just a self-contained own little moment where I've been I'm never going to forget I saw that. Yeah,
Right.
there you go. You solved it. The knocker was a woman.
It's his wife.
Knocker should have given it away.
Right.
I like how we just, in one interplay, we're both enlightened, and then I tore it right back down to being the opposite of that.
It's important. You gotta, what is it, the balance? You have to keep the balance.
Yes, that's what the podcast is.
It's all about the balance.
So I remember the first time I saw this movie, that scene with the mystery man was like the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. And then I forgot he was actually in this movie a lot more than that. Because he starts running around the second half of this movie, and I'm like, I forgot he was in. And they recreate almost that scene with Pete.
What do you mean? Where?
Pete's on the phone, and he's like, we've met before. And Pete's like, where do you think we met? He's like, at your house. When he's on the phone next to Mr. Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I forgot he was in as much of this movie as he was, because he made such an impression in that one scene.
Yeah, he did. I don't remember when the first time I saw it was, like last week or so.
Yeah.
So it's hard to remember all these ways back. But to me, that just seems like a normal outsider. Because I think, you know what was happening? Bill Pullman was forgetting that he was Bill Pullman and he was on a mission because he was spending too much time Peteing it up. Because let's be honest, being Pete's a pretty cool deal. And he's getting everything. He's friends with this gangster guy. He's got this chick. And he's kind of living the sweet life. His parents are very nice. He has another girlfriend that he's banging too.
Natasha Gregson Wagner.
That was a lot of words.
I had a crush on her in the 90s, and then I didn't realize
What did she do?
that I was going to see her topless in this movie.
Ooh, that must have been exciting. What else was she in?
It was exciting. I don't remember what I liked her from. I know she was in that movie with, but before Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback, he made that movie, Two Girls and a Guy, which was not Two Guys, a Girl, in a Pizza Place.
I don't know that movie.
And it's like maybe Heather Graham and her, and he's sleeping with both of them, and then they find out about each other, and the whole thing takes place. You'd love it. It takes place in one location, and there's no nudity. And that was the problem. Why do you think I rented it, Pete? I was very disappointed as well.
I feel like Blockbuster missed a trick. They should have had the HBO stuff, like just on a little bar on the back of the box, just to let me know what I'm in for.
Me too. Well, no, they tricked me into watching a lot of movies that I never would have watched.
Yeah, that's true.
That I have no interest in. Fucking dramedy. Although I'm kind of glad I saw it now because Robert Downey Jr., I got to see something from his dark period. And he's pretty good in it.
Was that he also did the one with the elephant where they had to bring the elephant back, right? From somewhere. Dumbo Drop, perhaps? Operation Dumbo Drop.
Was he in that?
I think he was. That was right near the end of his...
There was another random one the other day I came across where I was like, Robert Downey Jr.'s in that movie? Oh, he's in U.S. Marshal.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't remember that at all.
For some reason, I remember that. He was the bad guy in it.
Yeah, I didn't remember that at all. It's just funny because he's like fourth on the call sheet, and you're like, how? Like, I forgot how far he'd fallen, that he's just behind Wesley Snipes on a...
I was going to say, that was Wesley Snipes, right?
Yeah, it's the sequel to The Fugitive, but not really a sequel. It's just a spin-off.
Right.
Because it would have to carry over anything from The Fugitive for it to be a sequel. And I know the characters are there, but it's not like it has anything to do with their previous work at all.
No, because they're U.S. Marshals. That was just one case. The Fugitive, like, this is an anthology. Like, that was season 1.
I wish that they had made more, because I know that one wasn't that good, but I bet you they could have popped out another good one at some point.
I kind of liked the idea. Like,
we should come back now.
Of Joey Pants and...
Yeah, I'd like to see them come back now.
As old people?
Yeah. One last case.
Ooh.
There's not a good one last case for Detective Gerard?
And what if the case is Richard Kimball kills somebody? Special agent?
He's not a detective. He's a U.S. Marshal. I know that because the movie's called U.S. Marshals.
Oh,
I watched a reaction video to it the other day, and it's one of those ones where you scream at the screen going, it's not his job. Because they're like, well, why don't you ask them what happened? It's like, because that's not his fucking job. They have a whole scene where he says, I don't care, because it describes exactly what his job is. I have to get you back into jail. I am not an investigator. I am not a detective. I do not care what happens to you. I just have to get you back to jail. That is my one mission. He's fucking great in that movie.
But we already know he's a liar because he does care in the first one.
He does.
So that's just a waste of time in the second one. You can deny all you want.
I don't remember what happens in the second one. I'm talking about the first one.
Oh, okay.
Where people are watching reaction to it and they're just like, it's like, but why don't you look into the one-armed man? It's like, because that's not his fucking job. His job is get this prisoner back to jail. I love that movie so much.
I watch it. I've seen it more than I should. You'd think I wouldn't like a slow procedural kind of.
Is there ever been a better Saturday afternoon movie? It's like 3 and you're like, or it's 2:30 and you're like, well, we're not eating till 5, and the kids are playing in their rooms like, oh, The Fugitive's on.
that never happens.
That's what I'm going to do.
I agree.
I love The Fugitive.
There is something about that movie where you just get stuck watching it. It's hard to turn the channel because there's nothing super action-packed.
No, it's just interesting and well acted.
Yeah, him jumping off the dam's probably the most action there is.
It's just, I don't know, those 90s, almost none of them hold up. And that one's just like, it's fucking excellent. I don't think anybody's made a better kind of version of that since that.
Has anyone even tried? Is there anything?
Well, yeah, they made U.S. Marshals. They literally tried it again.
What was Passenger 57 then?
Yeah, I don't count that as the same thing because that's more like there was all those action movies. That's Die Hard on a Boat or Die Hard on a Plane. You know, that series of movies where Under Siege is on a boat, Passenger 57's on a plane. The Fugitive's not that. Maybe that's why it stands out so much is that it wasn't doing the same thing everything else was. It's not, the president's on a plane and he's got to fight back against the Russians. It's not, could you imagine? It's not that.
That would be way different now.
That would be way different now. That would be way different now. It's not that. It's just like a really engaging police procedural.
Yeah,
from the perspective of both guys.
And I'm not usually a fan, even though I've watched many a Law and Order over these years.
It's not at all kind of my alley, but I think a lot of it is the Tommy Lee Jones character and how entertaining he is on his just obsessiveness to get this job done. And how he treats everybody as if like, I know you're fucking wrong. Or he says things, they're like, there's no way you survived that. And he's like, make him easy to catch then. And he walks away and I'm like, this guy is in charge of everything.
It's really the relationship between Tommy Lee Jones and fucking Harrison Ford.
It's great. And
that's the movie.
Harrison Ford obviously has like 2 of the greatest characters in film history. That Han Solo and Indiana Jones. I mean, they might be the 2 biggest characters in film history, to be honest with you. And then you see like The Fugitive and it's like, man, this guy was really actually more than just these characters. He was really fucking good in this movie.
I was about to say that's kind of where Harrison Ford, like it's right before he decided I don't give a shit about acting anymore and he still wanted to try, and it shows how good he is.
Was so good in that movie.
But then he just kind of tailed off later. He's like, I don't act anymore.
He acts all the time.
He acts grumpy.
I think he's supposed to be good on that TV show he does.
He's on a TV show?
Yeah.
Is it one of those
With
fucking
Jason
Western?
Segel, maybe?
Oh, no, I don't know what that
No, he's
was.
on that too. I've heard he's good on that too. One of those Yellowstone movies.
Yeah, one of those Yellowstone movies, which there's like 10 of them now.
I don't...
Is that Kevin Costner too?
It was for a time. He left.
Oh, interesting.
Time came, I left.
There's-
What's that from?
I don't know, but I recognize it.
Oh. It's from the end of Out of Sight.
Wow, I haven't seen that movie in a
When
long
Samuel L.
time.
Jackson was in prison there for a time. He's like, for a time? He's like, what does that mean? He's like, it means time came, I left. That fucking movie is also great. None of it's Lost Highway, but it's all great.
Remember when Michael Keaton popped up in that movie for
Playing the
four
same
se-
character, and they couldn't name him that.
That's right. That was when Michael Keaton hadn't been doing very much for any length of time, so it was very exciting to see him.
Yep, playing the same character from Jackie Brown, because it's set in the same universe.
And that's cool.
But they couldn't call him that, so they kind of just alluded to it's the same guy.
Different directors or different studios. It was a thing.
Two movies made the same year from A-list directors based on Elmore Leonard novels.
Elmore Leonard did the Justified too, I think.
Probably.
It's based on his books.
That
Yeah.
might explain why it's so beloved and probably really good.
You know, I've got an Elmore Leonard book that I picked up just because I'm like, there's a lot of stuff. I should probably read one of these books.
I think I read Be Cool,
the
which they eventually made into a movie.
the one with John Travolta.
No, I think Tim Allen was in that maybe? Maybe it was both. Maybe they face off against each other.
Oh
It's
no,
like-
Be Cool and Get Shorty. They were. It was like there were
it
like
was
two of them.
It was the U.S. Marshals to the fugitive of Get Shorty. I think that's right.
Wasn't Hackman in that movie?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Hackman.
Anyway,
I was
where
looking to see if there was anything we could watch for Gene Hackman, but the guy didn't really make a lot of horror movies.
Superman's not a horror movie?
No, you know
It's about
that.
an alien from outer space who comes down with his laser eyes and terrorizes the country.
Nope.
No, that's not what that one's
This
about?
doesn't terrorize anybody in that movie. That's
Oh.
the Zack Snyder version.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking of then.
And
I see.
Hackman's not in that.
Oh.
He had some taste. he had dementia, and he still read the script and went like, "This makes no fucking sense to me."
I pass.
Like, why is it so drab out? Why isn't there color in the sky? Right now, the Superman movies coming out this summer.
I'm excited.
Everybody is, except for the Snyder cult, and you can't go anywhere online without reading something about. It's like, oh, why is he in pain when the sun's hitting him? And then everybody has to explain because his entire body is broken and being healed very quickly by the sun, and that fucking hurts. And they just they hate every frame they've seen.
That annoys me.
Like, I hate that dog, and it's like look, here's a cool dog.
Yeah,
there's
Crypto the super dog?
there's just he has a dog on the farm, and he's like, I'm glad that we just saw this dog, and then Snyder said, let's move on. And it's like, you don't understand comic books or movies or anything, and it makes me hate Zack Snyder
Or
so much.
fun?
Like, that's not Superman's not supposed to be fun. He's supposed to be a godlike figure with no emotions.
See, I think we've talked about it. Neither one of us are fans of Superman stories
No,
because
they're
it's hard.
horrible.
Yeah. Unless you do one-offs where you take the concept of Superman and then change it somehow. Like, what if Superman was a Nazi man? You'd be like, ooh, that's a story.
I've never agreed to liking that.
I would be interested. Wasn't there one Red Sun where
Yeah.
he's like a Russian or
He
something?
just lands in Russia.
Yeah. There's a story. I'm interested.
It's an interesting premise, but I'm never going to read it because I don't care.
I like the what ifs. I'm a what if guy.
I just don't. Okay, get down the rabbit hole on Superman here. I know that so much of it's about, supposed to be about how he landed with the Kents and he became such a decent, upstanding, good human. But in everything from the comic to every adaptation, that's already preset by his parents. I know that they're not with him, but he spends years learning peaceful things on the trip there. So it's like, I feel like the Kents get maybe too much credit.
What do you mean he learns peaceful
There's
things?
nature versus nurture, right? Yeah. But the entire trip that Superman takes as a baby is him learning about the history of Krypton, but also Earth, and learning about being caring and leading people and being great. So it's always been in his DNA.
I didn't know that. That was like being played to him while he's a baby in the space pod?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So it's one of those things where it's like, I think the Kents, there's too much on the nurture thing here because it wasn't just coming from this one place. If he'd have landed in Russia, but he still took that 7-year fucking trip or whatever it was, but time moves differently, you know what I'm saying?
In Russia.
Yeah, in Russia. In Russia, time moves you. If he's still taking that trip, he still would have landed there with decent morals. So I don't agree with a thing I've never read.
Good. It's good to take a strong stance like that. It's important.
I don't have to read it. I'm an American.
That's right.
And I can just have an opinion on it.
We don't know how to read in this country.
I know how. I don't have to do it, though.
That's true. I told you that my brother said that. He's like, you know what the best part about being this was apropos of nothing. He's like, you know what the best part about being a grown-up is? No one can make you read anything.
It's true.
If you don't want to read, you don't have to. And that, I don't know why, but that is what he takes away from being an adult, is he doesn't have to read anymore.
It's true. I'll never read again.
I'll
never read a book ever in my life again. Why would I?
I've got a book list, like a stack of, not even a list anymore. My physical stack of books is towering. I really got to start reading again.
Do you think we're honoring David Lynch in the right way this month?
I think so. I'm seeing movies for the first time.
I don't want to discuss the movie with you much anymore because we're on such different pages, and I don't want to get frustrated with your very basic readings of things.
It's not basic. It's a fascinating movie.
Yeah, I like the movie a lot.
Right, I agree. I think it could be open to well, that's all his movies.
I'm glad you'll allow that a David Lynch movie could be open to interpretation.
Well, I'm looking back at Eraserhead here in particular.
When we started this journey, and I said, no, there's no wrong answers, I didn't account for the fact that you would hit on the one wrong answer that could exist. And that's that everything you're seeing means nothing but what you see in the moment you see it. It's the one thing that can't be true, but it's the one that you've hit on.
But what, I kind of get what you're saying, and it's making me laugh because you're wrong.
I don't think that I am wrong.
It could be anything. Like, it could be... I find your interpretation really hard to take, though. That's a stretch.
He clearly dies in an electric chair at the end of the story.
There's no electric chair scene at any point. They mention it once before he escapes from jail.
He doesn't escape. None of that happens. Where does it happen? That's my question. Where does this happen?
In the past.
It doesn't happen in the past. Then why is he getting buzzed in the present that Dick Laurent is dead if it happened in the past?
Because when he goes back to being
Why is his wife the same age? What are we talking about?
We're going a few days in the past. He just goes back to Pete.
Oh, I kept thinking you were saying it's like the distant past because that was a child.
Time long ago.
Because he's 30 years younger.
No. It's just
Bill
a few
Pullman
days.
wasn't that old in this movie. He looked good.
He always looks good. He's Bill Pullman. But, like, that's why I was with the dog. Like, whose dog is that when he hears the dog barking? I feel like that helps you fix where you are in time because it probably happened somewhere else when it was Pete chilling on the screen.
Am I to understand that you think that his wife, who he only merely suspects of cheating but sees every day, has a secret double life as a porn star?
Yes.
Just days earlier, is sneaking out doing a whole porn industry.
Yep. Remember when he calls her after he plays his sweet, sweet saxophone solo and she doesn't pick up the phone at all?
Yes,
you know where she was?
Apparently she was shooting 4 to 10 pornos.
With weirdly, I don't know if you saw that, it also had Marilyn Manson and Twiggy in one of the porns they showed.
Well, we should talk about the soundtrack of this movie.
Oh, the soundtrack that I owned? So that's the one thing I know about Lost Highways. I own the soundtrack.
Still.
No, I'm pretty solid in what I watched, and I enjoyed it.
I believe this is the first time he worked with the Nine Inch Nails.
Because Reznor was all over this.
Yes, this is a 90s movie. Except it's a 90s David Lynch movie. So it's like, as all that stuff we talked about ages poorly, whether it be because of CGI, which he's not going to use, or just like of the time, his stuff's so timeless that I watch that now with that 90s soundtrack. It rips. And I'm also like, it doesn't feel like it's stuck in the 90s.
That's weird. You're right.
But it's using all the 90s stuff. It looks like a 90s movie.
100.
The soundtrack is the most 90s I've ever heard. But when I watch the movie, it doesn't feel like a 90s movie. That's the genius of the David Lynch, I think.
And now that I'm looking back at the movies I've seen of his, they're all that way. It's almost like they're products of their time, but they're not pinned down to that time. I don't know if that makes sense. They evoke it for sure, because like you said, everything is 100% straight 90s. Yet somehow I don't watch it like, oh, this is a movie that is clearly a 1990s movie and it shows.
Yeah, but it's also like in some ways the most 90s movie, which is why it's fascinating that it doesn't get stuck like that to me.
Is it? Yeah, the way it's filmed, the soundtrack plays. What was? I might think Carpenter's Escape from L.A. had a banger soundtrack too back in the 90s. That was a big one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of any other, because that was back when CDs or records would come out with movies and the soundtracks mattered, and Will Smith would rap to us about every movie he made.
Yeah,
those were good times.
Well, Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails will come back in The Return, Twin Peaks: The Return.
Really?
As one of the bands at the Roadhouse.
That's fun.
And the guy the character that introduces all the bands can never get their name right. they're 9-inch nails. But he can't stop saying the 9-inch nails to the point where they just had to leave it in. Because it's like, I guess Trent Reznor's like, it's fine. So he injures him
for
ladies and
3
gentlemen,
days.
the 9-inch nails. He can't not do it. I just like to think of like cut, like, no, just take out the. And like he just can't do it. And I just imagine Trent Reznor being like, let's just get this over.
Pretty good.
But it's also one of the best episodes of the show. And the one performance that doesn't happen at the end of an episode. It's interesting. That's the most. We're a year away from that.
Yeah, having not seen it, you said that since it's an 18-hour movie, they really just put the music in as like a break. Like, here's where we pause until the next episode because there's no real natural break points.
There's episodes aren't like about something and then we move on to something else. It's just we have a chunk of the story. We got it down to 50 minutes, put an ending on it, go to the Roadhouse, watch a band play.
Okay.
And this is the only one that doesn't happen at the end. It happens. There's one scene, then, ladies and gentlemen, the 9-inch nails. And then we come back and get the most experimental thing that's ever been on television and one of the coolest things ever.
All right. Yep, I'm excited for that. What else? What are we saying? His wife was out whoring because he called her and she was gone. And then there was something else, too. There was another sign. It was all over. Anyway, what was your point?
My point is that this was the occurrence at Elk Creek, whatever it was called.
Yeah, that's
He's in his jail cell.
Yep.
He's awaiting the death penalty.
Yep.
Which inevitably gets him at the end.
Nope.
And,
that is where we differ.
And he imagines getting out. And it's a whole different illusion because now he's young, he has a girlfriend, everybody likes him, he's succeeding, and then he reinserts his wife into this thing and inevitably she destroys the illusion for him.
Because he's there to spy on her. He's got to figure out what's going on.
Not there because this isn't happening.
See, so you literally think that this movie...
that he created a fugue state where he's a different person in his head, in his cell.
So, okay.
He never leaves the cell.
Who calls him and says Dick Lorenz
He
dead?
never leaves the cell.
Okay.
Let's just start from there. Let's start the Mobius strip of a movie with him sitting in a jail cell waiting to die. Okay.
Mobius the living vampire?
Yep. Mormon time. Morbius. He's sitting in his jail cell awaiting death, and he has a psychotic break and envisions himself with his whole second life. When you get to that life, Mr. Eddie / Dick Laurent isn't in it. His wife isn't in it. They insert themselves into the delusion. So he's not dreaming about stalking his wife. She's not in the delusion until she shows up because it's starting to break. And it's starting to break because the mystery man, which is his own emotions and anger and all that stuff bundled into one, is breaking it on him. That's my interpretation of why he changes into Balthazar Getty.
I think he turns into Balthazar Getty because he made a deal with the mystery man, some outsider. The outsider has an exploding house he lives in. An exploding house in reverse.
Yeah, he loved that effect.
I don't even know what that means, but it's pretty cool.
I think it means that if you want it in a metaphor, I think it means that this whole thing's about to break on him, but he's trying so desperately to hold it together that something unnatural is keeping it together. We literally watch it come back together as he's trying to hold it. This delusion that's shattering on him.
Okay. I took it. I don't know how
I took it as a house that explodes backwards.
Right. Where it's pretty much you're laughing at me and mocking me, but that is I don't know how the architecture works in weird parallel pocket universes.
Speaking of which, what a fucking awesome house this dude lived in.
Oh yeah, right.
And I guess David
Pullman
Lynch
house
owned the house, but it wasn't his actual house.
That was a cool house, yo.
So he wrote the scene where he needed to have an intercom and not be able to look out the window. So he had to find something like that. And he had a property that he saw and he bought it because he's like, it was right near his regular house. And he's like, this property's perfect because it has that skylight, it has stuff. So he bought the house just to shoot in it.
Didn't you tell me that he likes to walk into rooms and go, what can we do here?
Well, what happened here? He bought the house and he walked around and said, great, this
I
is
can
perfect.
do something here.
So now nobody could tell him no because he could just go to the house whenever he wanted and stare at there. And,
whoever he could get to come to the
and
house.
bring his neighbor, Bill Pullman. Why do you think Bill Pullman's in this movie, Pete? Because he's like, come down the street.
Is that really his neighbor?
Bill Pullman was his neighbor.
Maybe
this
that
house was down the street from it.
Maybe that's the joke when he goes, whose dog is that? Maybe that was his actual dog from his house.
It could be. I think he makes a similar joke in return, honestly.
There was another dog. There was something about the dog, I'm telling you. Anyway, so the
dog turns into Jack Nance. And then Balthazar Getty, when he turns back into Bill Pullman, looks around and says, "And you were there? And you were there?" He loves the Wizard of Oz. He loves the Wizard of Oz. And we talked before when we did Return to Oz. That thing where
that movie's awesome.
There's two different worlds. All these people have avatars in that other world.
Yeah.
This is what he does in this movie. He does it in Mulholland Drive. He does it in The Return. This becomes like this is the movie that kind of launches into he's done duality, obviously, in all of the movies. But this is the one where people legitimately just turn into someone else. That's going to happen in Mulholland Drive. That's going to happen in The Return.
Right. He literally turns into somebody else.
Metaphorically,
no,
yes.
Literally.
Do you want me to play the opening clip again where he talks about what this is?
You can play it, but I'm not going to listen.
Do you want a Nick Cage update, Pete?
Yes? Good God, yes.
Do you know whose actual wife is in this movie at the time? Now think, I've asked you if you want to hear a Nicolas Cage update.
Whose wife? Arnold Schwarzenegger's.
Maria Shriver is not in this movie.
That's his wife?
But Nicolas Cage's then wife, Patricia Arquette, is.
Oh, yeah, he was married to Patricia Arquette for
You're
a
the
moment.
worst Nick Cage news guy.
Oh, yeah? Oh, all right. You ready for some Nick news? I got some Nick news for you since you've primed the pump, as it were. All right, this one, okay. So, this is from a few years ago, but the sheet popped up. I don't know where I lost it. Anyway, some Nick Cage news for you. So there's an indie AI movie that someone has made called Cage Planet, and it stars Nick Cage in all of the roles. Every person.
We know he hates AI.
Yes. So anyway, that might not be true because I've thought about it, and I've looked for it on the internet, and I've never found anything like that, and it may have been a dream when I wrote this down. I don't know. But I don't know why I would call it Cage Planet, so I feel like it might be real. But if it's out there, you should look for it. There's something called Cage Planet, and it's an all AI movie, all Nick Cage.
The thing you've looked for and you can't find.
I looked for it once and I couldn't find it. And I said, why did I write this down if this isn't a thing? Like, it says indie AI movie starring Nick Cage.
Pete, why'd you write this down if it was a thing?
Can you imagine? Well, that's kind of what Dream Scenario was, right? Maybe I'm just thinking about Dream Scenario.
You didn't see Dream Scenario.
But aren't there a lot of Nicolas Cages running around?
No.
Is that being John Malkovich?
I never saw that.
You didn't?
No, so we're going to have a conversation just like we just had with Lost Highway, a movie that one of us saw, and then talk about a movie that the other one didn't see.
Okay, so back to Patricia Arquette. Yes. She is out
looking
whoring.
Good in this movie.
She was naked a lot. David Lynch likes to make people get naked a lot. Yeah. He's like, you come on his show, like, take it all off. There was no Bill Pullman nudity, though. Disappointing.
There might have been a button there, wasn't there?
No, you're thinking of Kyle MacLachlan in that other movie.
I know that you were excited because in that movie you saw his wang.
I saw his Nicolas Cage wang. That's when you say it, wang. All right, anyway, so she wasn't home because she was out making pornos, and he called her from the sweet, sweet saxophone.
Obviously.
Then when those tapes started appearing, she's all freaked the fuck out. Like, everything she's doing is weird because she knows that could be a porno and somebody's about to blow up her spot. That's why she's worried.
No, but you can... Okay, let's stop right there. You can then... I know you can do this. I believe in you. And as somebody who's worked with you on math problems, I shouldn't, but I do. If the character of Bill Pullman, whatever his name is, because I've lost my mind already.
What is his name? It's like Frank or Fred.
If Fred sees his wife's...
Hey, my kid's name is Fred.
If Fred sees his wife's worried reaction to a videotape and then falls into a delusion that his wife enters, wouldn't this be what a man in his delusion who believes she's cheating on him would imagine is the worst case scenario for what would be on the tape?
Yes.
That's what happened.
But it didn't.
No. Stay with me. Stay with me. She's not really a porn star. But when he's created this fake fugue world for himself, that's what he's put into the delusion because that's the worst case scenario his brain goes to when the videotape arrives.
That's why he made the deal with the entity to figure out if it was real or not, because he didn't want to believe it to be true about his wife. Well, he didn't know. He knew there was something, and that's what it was.
I'm going to go back to my question. Do you genuinely believe that Renee, because she didn't answer the phone one time, but was there that night, is off with an entire second life as Dick Laurent's porn star mistress?
Yes, he is
You believe that to be true? You believe that to be a thing that is true?
I do.
That's ridiculous.
He is a rock and roll star. He's on tour all the time. He's not home a lot.
Ridiculous. Now, That is the most absurd thing I've ever seen somebody tell me with a straight face they believe. Because, like, even go to the picture where there's Renee and Alice.
Yeah.
And how at the end there's just one. Mm-hmm. It's literally telling him, this isn't real. You don't get this at all?
No, what it tells you is the Alice version was what she was calling herself around whoever. What was his name? Dick Loren? What a dumb name.
Mr. Eddie.
Mr. Eddie. Somehow that's worse. Anyway, Dick Eddie. Anyway, whatever. She had a different name. And then it's at the end when there's only the one person in the picture. It's not, the two girls are one now. It's showing him that all his fears are real. She is a porn star. She is
no.
She is a cheating.
No.
She planned the whole murder of everyone else.
She may have cheated on him. Renee may have cheated on him. It's fine. It's not. She's not what Alice is doing.
Yes.
No.
We watch it happen.
No.
We see it occur.
No, because the person that tells him that her name is Renee, no matter what she calls herself, is the mystery man who is just the manifestation of his feelings.
No.
Yes, Pete.
Okay,
this man's not actually running around town.
Yeah, he's not running. He's appearing, and he appears to like the corrupt people. If you notice, like the one guy at the party is like, I think he's so and so. He's Mr. Eddie's friend, and that guy is also a jerk. Only the jerks interact with this thing because I think he's had dealings with them or through them. Maybe not as like such a big bargain as he has with Bill Pullman, but he's definitely dealt with them, and they know of him because they are morally questionable people, and apparently that's what this outsider is drawn to. It's how he gets his hooks in and then enters this world.
All right, so I'm going to give my basic quick recap of what I think this movie was about.
All right, I get what you think it's about.
Basically, Fred is an impotent man who can't please his wife. He suspects her of cheating, kills her, goes to prison, and then he imagines a world where he's young, satisfies his girlfriend, but all these things start creeping in, and the Dick Laurent, Mr. Eddie character creeps in, and his wife creeps in, and they're all different characters, but they all creep in, and she inevitably shatters his illusion, and as he gets on the Lost Highway, he fries to death as he was fated to in the...
Then why was he on the Lost Highway at the beginning?
You have to explain to me what the beginning is.
The movie starts at the beginning, it's just the Lost Highway. You're in the Black Highway with the sweet 90s music going.
But it's a loop. That's the thing. That's not where the movie starts. That's where I guess that's where the movie starts. It's not where the story starts.
Right, because the story
starts basically with him on stage wailing on that saxophone.
But if you want to start chronologically, the story
begins with him being told that
chronologically, the story would start with him as Pete going through all of his stuff.
No, because that never happens.
It does.
No, because none of that happens.
It's very much like you said, an occurrence or incident at Owl Creek, but instead of it all being in his head, you bring in mysterious outsiders, and
I don't know what's going to happen next week because
what's next week?
Because like the first hour and 45 minutes of that movie is, I think, a dream, and you're going to be like, that's where it starts, though.
Well, is it? Because again, I find this to be a straightforward movie.
No,
it really was. It's so much.
How does he tell himself that Dick Laurent is dead if it's a straightforward movie?
Because he went back.
He went back in time.
He went back in time
and changed people. No metaphor needed.
Right.
No symbolism anywhere.
You don't need to. It's what happens. Like, that's what I like about Lynch is he brings in these weird scenarios.
When he was walking around the dark hallways, the lost hallways.
Yes.
I fucking saw the red curtain from Twin Peaks.
Me too.
All right. I'm not crazy then.
That's why it tells me that all of this is real, because I'm accepting all of these entities and these outsiders. Like, yes, that's what you normals will say, and you'll discount all of these things happening.
I think this does take place in the same universe as Twin Peaks.
And there's red rooms and there's these entities that exist not on our realm. And the Mystery Man is that what he's called? Is he's called the Mystery Man?
I think he's credited as that, yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good name, I guess, for him. Because I don't know what else to call him. I just keep calling him Outsider.
Yeah, he's cool. Like, not like cool like Bill Pullman on a saxophone cool.
No.
But I mean like just a cool...
He's creepy.
Cool, character of indeterminate... Is he a
origin?
Bad guy?
Right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
He's just got his own... Lodge shit to do.
Yeah, we don't know what these things are. We don't know what they want. We're just given like some of their machinations. Like we see the results of their.
So this one was more up your alley of what you're looking for in a Lynch movie.
This was great.
I thought you'd like it, but again, I thought you'd like Blue Velvet. So my curve's way off on this.
Blue Velvet is. You know what happens in a lot of Lynch movies? They make me sad. He makes sad movies about sad subjects.
This one doesn't make you sad because you didn't understand it. So that's perfect. We found one.
I understood it perfectly, and it was fun. It is a little long.
It was a little.
It was a little long, and by a little I mean really fucking long, and I got annoyed. But luckily, they changed characters. So I was like, "Ooh, new movie."
Yeah, you can pretend it's a second movie.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
And then so it was so far. I do kind of like Eraserhead though, because it's just weird. That movie's just fucking weird.
You got credit check?
Of course, I have a credit check. Now Lynch is very disappointing with his credits. He has not had much to do, but this time, Brian, this movie, he went nuts. There is so much happening in the credits of this movie behind the scenes. First off, in the people, the named actors, there is the dog, whose name was Jack. There was Chet Leonard as the cable man, not the cable guy. He's grown up into a cable man.
Cable man, Dad.
Cable man. Do you know who the builder extraordinaire was on the set?
Bob.
Alfred. Alfred Ponce. There was a honey wagon driver. Give it up for Larry Hardman. I think that might have been the same honey wagon driver from one of his other movies. If only I had some way to go back and check. What else? Oh, there were 2 different cook drivers. I don't even know what that means. A cook driver. That's all it said. Let's see here. There was a helicopter played by Bale's Wing and Helicopter. So two helicopters played that helicopter. There was a bug wrangler and a remote control car wrangler. Fascinating. There was an asymmetrical production assistant and also an asymmetrical receptionist. That wasn't like the people who are named. This was farther down when you get to like the gaffers and the best boys. There were no best boys, continuing a David Lynch ban on best boys. And also there was a real trooper. These are all in the credits. So somewhere there's a real trooper.
I gotta believe it's exactly what we think it was. Where like, guy kept showing up to work, going through bad marriage. Kid got thrown out of school. Dog died. And David Lynch is like, that guy is a real trooper.
That absolutely is what it is. Because he's having fun now. He gets what credits are for. Builder extraordinaire. That's good stuff.
I like this movie a lot. I think you like this movie a lot.
I love this movie. This is fun.
Guess who hated it? Our old friend Siskel and Ebert.
Those 2 fucking chodes.
Those chuckleheads.
Chuckle fucks, Brian. Chuckle fucks.
Siskel at least tries to engage with the movie.
Do they like any of his movies?
Mulholland Drive.
Well,
Siskel was dead by then. Ebert liked Mulholland Drive.
For the same 30 seconds I like.
I'm sure they both like The Elephant Man.
They would.
And I bet you they'll both like Straight Story too. Siskel at least tries to give it credit for where it's earned. And he says, as a reviewer, I have to acknowledge I'm watching something that I've never seen before. And that's important and interesting. And he gave it a thumbs down, but he's like, but it's not the same kind of thumbs down, you know? And then Ebert's like, I just don't understand David Lynch, which like, no shit. And he's like, I think he's a gifted storyteller. I think he's like, basically he's like his own ass trying to outsmart everybody in this. And I'm like, he's not trying to outsmart anybody. Well, that's the thing. That's what bothers me the most about these reviews. We've talked about it. We've listened to them, but we've also talked about he has no pretension on these things whatsoever.
It doesn't bleed into the work either. Like some people,
but he doesn't just spell it out for Ebert. So Ebert's just like, I'm never going to engage with it then. And that's what's like so bothersome about his reviews.
That is annoying because it's not bad. It's not. Lynch movies are a thing, and I think they are open to interpretation a lot of times.
Yeah, but I wish you'd do any interpreting of it.
This is, I swear, what
you
is more
understand my criticism, right? That you just don't seem to be trying to interpret anything from any of them.
So you think the movie just ends with
him getting electric chair? Yes, these are the last fleeting thoughts of somebody whose mind is completely shattered.
Not a guy interacting with entities from outside our sphere of reality.
I think that's how that stuff is presented in David Lynch movies, like Twin Peaks. Yes,
but Twin Peaks, all that shit's real.
Bob, or is Bob just the evil part of Leland?
No, Bob is Bob. We have a whole room full of these fucking things that we meet, and they have, what do they call it?
This is what I'm talking about. This is literally what I'm talking about.
But it's literally what we're watching. Why would we watch this if it wasn't relevant to the plot?
I don't know how I knew you for this long, over 3 decades, and I've never realized before that you have no concept whatsoever of symbolism and metaphor.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I understand it. I get it. You think that it was just a sad movie about a sad man, but somebody who plays a saxophone. I
didn't think it was sad at all. I thought it was a pretty dynamic one.
But he dies at the end.
Yeah.
No.
He was also a murderer.
Yeah, multiple times too. But she was just as bad. She planned the murder of the other guy, and then she tricked.
That never happened.
It sure does.
That never happened.
He falls on a table and his head gets split in half.
There was no Alice. There was only Renee.
Right. The
Renee
mystery man tells us that.
Renee isn't doing any of this. It's all bullshit Alice stuff that's not really happening.
Then where did all the pornos come from?
His mind. He's imagined the worst thing he can imagine being on the tapes is his wife fucking other men. So what happens in his delusion? The avatar for his wife is fucking other men.
Well,
it's okay. We got one more chance at it.
what do we?
We
There's
got
only
kind
one
of
more.
almost the inverted version of this.
In what?
Mulholland Drive.
Why? Okay. So I don't know anything about Mulholland
another
Drive
thing
other
where-
than a lesbian scene.
Characters are going to change, but they're
Okay.
not changing into different actors.
Oh, okay.
They're played by the same actors. And I think it's more straightforward. It has all the weird stuff, like all the weird stuff you could want.
Are you going to come back and tell me that really this was about a guy playing at a park with his son at the end of this movie when I watch whatever happens? You're like, no, really, you didn't understand it again, Pete. This movie is about.
Well, I'm already dreading when you're going to be like, then she wakes up and I guess she forgot her name because they call her something else and she just accepts it.
She have amnesia?
No, one character does. So it's going to be a real. These movies are usually real mind fucks. For me, next week, it's just going to be a minefield of trying to get around how you interpret.
I get your
How you
interpretation.
refuse to interpret.
Well,
Mulholland Drive.
I'm sorry. He filmed it, and it's a story, and it's straightforward, and I get it. I get it, and I like it.
Okay.
So we'll see about Mulholland.
I liked it too. As long as you're happy, I'm
You know what?
unmoved either way.
Him dying in an electric chair is just sad and weak sauce. Him driving away on the lost highway, changing faces to evade the cops. This is a franchise.
Those shots of the road, those cool shots of the road, we're going to see them again in Twin Peaks: The Return. As I've said before, the motifs in these movies come back in a way in Twin Peaks: The Return that I've never engaged with maybe enough. Because I'm rewatching all these movies now, I'm seeing them all, and how they're deliberately taking pieces
From
this other work, and there might be another level to Return by the time we get to it that I'll be working on again.
Does a racer head pop up in fucking
little
Twin
bit.
Peaks? Yep. It's an all an interconnected universe, so I think it's all real. Like
When-
none of this is imaginary.
Dale's traveling through like a nether world. There's a lot of stuff that would be reminiscent of the way that.
Oh my god! I wish there was a scene where Bill Pullman like just pulled up and he's like, "Hop in, we're going for a ride, bitches!" And then the two of them go on an adventure, and like Bill Pullman teaches him the ways of the I guess other world. Be pretty cool.
I enjoyed the show this week, but I've learned nothing.
I had fun with this movie.
I liked it too.
It's Bill Pullman on that saxophone, man. I can't. It's at the very beginning, but that image stays with you. Him just wailing, and everyone else stops, and he keeps going.
Well, next week is Mulholland Drive, many people's favorite David Lynch movie. My second favorite David Lynch movie after Fire Walk with Me, which you didn't enjoy.
It was so depressing.
That movie is much more like this movie than Fire Walk with Me.
Okay, good. Because aside from all the cool, the monster people, that movie's sad. Just sad.
I love Mulholland Drive, and I'm excited to see it again.
Okay, cool.
And I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited that we're done with Lost Highway because I needed to get off on an exit a while back.
I see what you did there.
When you ran through what happened and were just literally describing what you saw on the screen, I knew I was in a lot of trouble, and then we went for another 45 minutes.
If you're ready to get off, you got to shake your head. Shake it really fast. That's how you get off the Lost Highway. Shake it like a Polaroid picture, Brian.
Oh, I saw that fucking music video for that Apathy shit you were talking about.
There's a music video?
How did it cross my YouTube? I don't know. But I watched it, and I shouldn't have, because now I have like 700 other recommendations for different versions of this song. One, she's singing it live with Bruno Mars, and I had to watch that. And like, this is the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
Kissy face, sent to the phone.
Yeah, it's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life, because I don't understand this must be what like you felt when you were watching Ariana Grande sing at you in Wicked, where I'm like, what is happening? The only parts I can pick out are the parts you sang.
You got. Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't
I'll
you
give it
need
this.
me like I need you now?
For never listening to Bruno Mars songs or caring at all about who Bruno Mars is, anytime I see that guy live on something, he's fucking giving it.
I don't know what he
brings it.
looks like.
He's like a little dude that just like all energy. Okay. And that's one of those things where like I might not be into his music, but like he did that Super Bowl halftime show a couple times, and that fucker, like I gotta respect the hustle because guy works his ass off, and he's like pure entertainment. So even though it's not my kind of thing, pretty impressive.
She's got the appetite.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't understand that we can just make that a word now.
That's the fun. I like it when people make words out of nothing, and then I got to figure it out.
But again, when David Lee were out there, they laughed at him.
Skibbity bop,
bitty bop. Right. We'll see you next week for Mulholland Drive, the end of our David Lynch journey for this year. Next year, we're going to do 9 episodes on the 18-episode Twin Peaks: The Return.
Ooh. I hope that Mulholland Drive takes place in a mall.
Why would it take place on a mall?
Because it's Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, that's a road, a famous road
It goes to the mall.
Hollywood.
The Mulholland Drive.
That David Lynch lived on.
He lived at a mall?
I think Brando lived on it too.
Marlon Brando?
No, he lived at Sparrow's. I hate it. I love Marlon Brando. You know that. And I just did a Marlon Brando fat joke.
You've made a lot of Marlon Brando fat jokes over the years.
I've only made one. I've just told it several times.
No.
That is actually, if anybody ever looks at the, where you could find it, I don't know. We drew comic books, and then we have this podcast, and I have the website. And if there was a production company behind all of it, is called Not So Fast Productions, and the logo is a monkey sitting at a table tapping his pencil, and behind him is a little painter's cap hanging on a coat rack. And the reason is, when I was in college with Pete, I drew a picture of a monkey wearing a little painter's cap and overalls with a hose and a push broom, washing the back of a giant fat Marlon Brando. And I passed it over to him while I was bored in his class, and I said, monkey, wash my back. And that monkey became the mascot.
I couldn't stop laughing, so I ran to the back. Yeah, the problem was the back of the lecture hall, it has 2 doors, right? And they just led to a hallway with no exit except up into the booth where they have like the fucking overhead projector and shit. So I was just stuck in the back of this room with no way to get out.
And I knew that. But I didn't think about it for like 2 minutes. So when he walked out the back, I expected he'd come back, and I jerked my head around. I was like, wait, it doesn't go anywhere. He's just stuck in like a hallway to nowhere, lost hallway.
Because I had to, I had to walk all the way up through everybody in the auditorium, and I go to the back, and I start laughing, and I'm like, I can't get out of here. So then it became even funnier because I was just stuck. I'm like, do I have to walk back? Do I hang out here till the end of class? What do I do here?
That was one of my proudest moments because it was always easy to make you laugh in a class of 20 people. But making you laugh in a class of like 200 people in a giant room is much harder because of the space.
Good old Marlon Brando.
That's how I went to college. I would make him walk out of the classroom because he'd be laughing so hard. The best, of course, anthropology class, small little room cramped in with 20 people, and we're watching some nonsense video. And it's like, and then this man is to the tribe. He's called the Eggman. And I turned to Pete and I went, goo goo ka-choo. And he just closed his book, got up and walked out of the front of the room, right in front of everybody.
Was I able to do it without laughing?
Yeah, he was just like, he went, close it up, walked out. I was like, and I sat there laughing because I was like, oh shit. And now I'm alone in this mess.
There was no way. I'm glad I was able to remove myself from it. I hated that guy. That guy gave me a bad grade on a paper once.
He also taught from his own book and made us buy his book.
They all did. Oh, he was terrible.
Horrible.
Do you remember that was where the Stop Persecuting Me? Where
yes, you're supposed to write something we saw in the video from the perspective of one of the characters, and he wrote it from the perspective of the giraffe. And the only thing he had to say was "Stop persecuting me," because they were trying to kill the giraffe with spears.
Right, it was an anthropology class, and he didn't tell me that I needed a human perspective. He just said I needed a perspective.
Either way, neither of us graduated from college.
No,
I went to several though.
Ooh, I did too.
Yeah, we're pretty cool.
Yeah, we are. We're learned men.
Yeah, the problem I had was I was kept going for a long time and trying. So I was in my like mid 20s. I think I was still in college, maybe even late 20s. I was still in college, and I'm like, I was breaking the day rule. I was an adult, and they were still trying to make me read. I had to get out of there.
I understand. It took you a while to realize, like, wait a minute. I don't have to do this.
I don't have to do this. All right. What I do have to do is hit stop so that we can go watch Mulholland Drive and get ready to not understand what that was about next week.
I'm excited.
Me too. Love David Lynch.
Why don't you marry him?
Well, there's a good reason.
Why?
I guess there's not a great reason. All right. I'll see you next week.